use of the HTML is like specifying the document layout and putting in your content. So we looked into all different types of HTML tags, and in the last class we looked into HTML table. Okay, how you can use that HTML table. It's HTML table is very useful for many kind of things. If you want to do the tabular data display, you can do that, or if you want to use it for the layout purpose, if you want to use that table and structure your HTML layout, you can do that. So all the HTML tags, most like they are only meant for painting your HTML document. Means uh, it will not make any interaction with the server. So you have the client web application which is displayed on your browser. The HTML is predominantly it is meant for the painting your HTML, like how the visual look of your HTML, how visual look of your page, that is taken care by the HTML. And if you want to communicate with the server, let us say you want to send the data to the server for some kind of a processing, then you will use the forms. So today we will see the forms. Okay, so what the form is, forms provide the user with the alternative way to interact with the web server. So using forms, we can interact with the web server. And what is the form which provides? In the form, we can provide a text input. Suppose if you want to send the text input to the web server, you can do that. So basically forms, what you can think of is like whatever the registration you do on different kinds of sites. Okay, those registration you have like some text entry, some drop downs will be there, some radio box, some check boxes will be there. So different variety of information that you provide it through the forms. So if you want to collect, if you are developing a web application and you want to include a module for registration of the user, then you will provide this form. In the form you will put forms provides a lot of different variety of mechanisms where we can give the input. So some are like a text input. For taking the text input, you have we have the option, and for taking the password. So basically password, text and password, there are more or like similar. In case of a password, whatever the entry you are making from your keyboard, that will not be visible on the that particular input box. And we can have options list. Okay, we can have a couple of options will be there, and you want to display it as a list, that we can do. We can show as radio buttons. Okay, suppose you have option yes or no, you can put it as a radio button. uh, like one of the options will be selected. In case of a radio button, only one selection is allowed. Then there are check boxes. Suppose you want to take an input which will take multiple values. Suppose example, on the form, you want to check their interest. Okay, there are different areas you will specify, so they can do multiple selections using the check boxes. So this is a simple form. Okay, and this is how the form structure would be. We have the HTML tag for the form. If you want to create a form, you will use the form form, and inside the angle bracket there are some more attributes are there. First one is the method. Method is like either we can have a get method or the post method. This is the HTTP request. Either we make that request to the web server through a get or through a post. We will look into this, what is the get and what is the post. And action, action is here it says process.php. Action will it will indicate what URL, what resource on the web server you want to communicate with. So the resource you want to communicate with in this particular example is process.php, which is on the web server. And for this module, which covers the forms, we will take only the how the what are the different options, what are the different entities regarding the forms. We will look only from the perspective of the browser. So we will not be making any interaction with the web server in this module. In the later module, those things we will be learning. Here it is predominantly how these different options are provided by the forms we will see. So form, you will have a method. Method is equal to either get or post. Action, what URL you are looking for on the web server, and closing angle. And we have a something called as a field set. As the name indicates, if you want to have a certain elements as a set, so you will use that field set. So you can see the field set opening tag is here and closing tag is here. So whatever is inside, all these things will be considered as a one set. Then legend. Okay, what the legend will give? The legend will give a look like this. You can see the details here. Whatever the text you put inside the details in between the legend tags, that will be displayed here, and then you will have this kind of a display you will get it on the form. So that is a legend. Then inside the form, what you can have inside the form, you can have any HTML, whatever we have gone through so far, you can include everything. But inside a form you cannot have another form. So inside a form you can have all the input elements, all the HTML tags, everything you can have. You cannot have another form inside. And this form, when you submit, this data will be submitted to the web server. And I have a paragraph here. Okay, so inside the paragraph, what I have is a label. Label is like whatever the input you want to take, you will give some kind of a name. So you will have the description. Suppose you have created a name for student registration, you will say name. Okay, or the full name, that will go as a title. Just whatever the box you are seeing, that is the title for that. In that particular box, what user should enter. Looking at the label, user will come to know what information to be typed in. Then you have a label called USN. Then you will have a text box where you will take that particular USN input. So every input you have, you need to have a title, so that the user will know what information to be inputted there. Now you can see this is a label tags. Inside the label tag, whatever the text you give, that will be shown as the label. Okay, you can see title colon, that is what is shown. And after that we have this is the input box text. In this particular case, the kind of input we are taking is a text input. And how to do that? We have the keyword input. Okay, angle bracket, open angle bracket, input space, type is equal to text. So what kind of a input type it is? It is a text. It will take a textual data. Any kind of a text you type, it will take it. And for this particular text box, we are giving a name as a title. Name is an attribute. Every text box you want to give particular name. Why we have to give the name? This is what you are sending to the web server. So web server, when it is reading, it should be able to know whether it's a name, whether it's a USN, whether it's a branch, whatever the different inputs you have created, you should have a name for that. And this particular name, the server will understand this particular text by this particular name. When it says title, it will understand this is the text box that is related to this text. Okay, and that is the paragraph. So this is inside the paragraph, and I have one more paragraph for the next input element. The paragraph starts here, ends here. And what we have here is a label. We have put it as country. Inside the label tags, we have country, any text. Then we have a this is a drop down list. it will give a drop down list that is achieved using a select. So we are going to see, don't worry about these things, we are going to see all these elements little later. Just this is to show one basic example. So select, we use it for creating the drop down list. When we have created this element, we have to give a name. Every element on the form has to be given with a some kind of a name if you are planning to send that data to the web server. So name is where, and the select starts here, and this is the closing of the select. And inside the select tags, what we have is the different option. So option is you can option this particular tag is used to provide the a list of entities which you want to display in the list. So this is the option open tag, option closing tag. In between, I have a text entry. First one is a first option is a choose a country. Option two, we Canada. Option three, Finland. Option four, United States. So this will be shown as a drop down list. Okay, with the initial value as a choose a country. That would be the initial value, and these are the two paragraph. And after that I have the submit button. Okay, this submit button, this is another kind of a input. So it says input type is equal to submit. Okay, what it will do is it will submit this particular form to the web server. Whenever they click on submit button, whatever the information that is typed in, that information will be sent to the web server as a request. And how it is sent, based on whether it's a get or post, there will be a difference the way it is sent. We will see this example. Okay, this is the basic form that I have created. Okay, so I will create one. This is the code where I have all the HTMLs. So okay, this is the HTML we are looking, basic form.html. So the form is embedded inside the HTML. You can see this is how the page looks like. You have the legend. This is the legend details. I have one text box with the label title. I have one drop down box. You can see the drop down box with label as country, and I have one more submit button. So you can see I have HTML, regular HTML. Inside the HTML, I have head and I have body. Inside the body, I have the form. Whatever you saw on the presentation, that is starts from here until the submit. So this is the form I have included, and uh, okay, I have some table here. The table is not required. You can see all the inside whatever we saw it on the PPT. I have the legend here, the label title, then input type is here. Okay, text, that is this one, and name is a title. This is identified by the title, and I have a label called country, and inside the country I have four options. Okay, these are the four options, and at the end I have a submit button. So submit button is you have open angle bracket input, you will specify type is equal to submit. Okay, and if you notice when you are giving the input, uh, we have the opening bracket and keyword input. Inside that we have the attribute. In this particular we have type and type name, and after that you end that forward slash and a closing angle bracket. That is how it is specified for all the inputs. You can see here also it ends with the forward slash and the closing angle. You will not see like other HTML tags where we have the opening tag. For example, legend, we have opening, and forward slash legend. We have two tags. In input, it is just it ends here. Okay, ends with a forward slash inside the two angle bracket. There is subtle difference in some of these inputs. We will see that, and you have to be very careful incorporating those changes. Okay, now just to be curious, we'll see what if I give some values and submit it. Okay, Central Park. So the reason you are seeing the Central Park here is already I have given that data. In case of a get, it stores all those whatever the new values you give, it will be stored in the cache. That is why you are seeing those things. Central Park, and you can say choose a country, whatever the country you want to choose. Let's say if I click on the submit right now, this particular web application is not hosted. There is no web server. It is just the client. There is nothing is there. So you will get the error. Okay, it will not go through, but we'll see what happens. Just I will click on the submit. I have given the information. I will click on the submit. So your file was not found. The reason it says your file was not found, it is looking for, I will open the, so what resource it is, what file it is looking for, it is looking for process.php. Okay, so that is how it is giving that error, and it is looking locally, so that is not available. And if you see the URL here, okay, process.php, that is the resource URL you are looking for on the server. And if you see here, title is equal to central plus park. Okay, that is, you can see here. So that title is assigned with whatever the value you gave on the first text box. And what did you give on the first text box? Central space park. So the space and some of these things will not be sent as is. They will they will be encoded. Okay, so they will be encoded and they will be sent. So plus is the encoding for the space. That's why you are seeing title is equal to central plus park. And this is how it sends the data. How many data elements were there? Two data elements were there. One was the title and one was the country. And for country, what is the name you are given? Where. Okay, which country we selected? We selected Canada from the drop down before submitting. So you can see here where is equal to Canada. Okay, that is how it will send it to the server. Okay, now what happens? Like how form will interact with the server. So first, what you will do is user as a first step, you will write the URL of your web application. So he will type the URL. Once they that request goes to the web server, what the web server will do? Web server will return. So you go to any website. So you say, let's say www tcs.com. So you are sending that a request. When that request goes to the web server, the server responds. The server is responding. What it will respond? Browser returns HTML document that contains a form. So it will return the HTML document which is having a form that is returned, and this is what the user will see. Once user sees this particular page, he will enter the information. So user fills the form and he will enter all the details and clicks on the submit button. When the submit is clicked, the again request will go to the web server. The user's form data is sent to the server within the request. And what the server will do, the server, you will specify what particular resource will be utilizing this data. Suppose you want to store it in a database, or you want to generate some kind of a calculation. whatever that needs to be done, that is will be done on the server side. So for example, here we had the that action.php. This request is usually for the some type of server side script that will process the form data. So whatever the data is received, so processing, some kind of processing, we had action.php. Action.php will use this data and it will do some kind of a processing on that particular data. Query string. So I showed you just before we got the when we got the error. So you can see this is the query string. Okay, that is called as a query string. So what is a query string? So you will see here we have given the name for this as a title. Okay, this particular text box is having a name as a title, and this particular drop down list is having a name called where. So this information will be passed to the server, web server. So it will send title is equal to central plus park. And if there are multiple names that needs to be sent, so it is a pair, name value pair. So you can have n number of name value pair. In this case, we have only two input entities. If you have more input entities, all those will be separated by the ampersand. Then you see where is equal to, in this particular state they have selected united space states, so it will be sent as united plus states. And URL encoding, and this starts with a question mark. The particular query string, it starts with a question mark and followed by a list of name value pairs separated by ampersand. Okay, so if there are more, if let us say if there is one more, there would be an ampersand and name of the input entity is equal to its value, whatever the value it has been selected, and it will pass in that particular way. And URL encoding, I told you some of the symbols the web browsers they don't accept, so those symbols will be sent as a URL encoding. For example, here you can see this, so it is like a e prime. This particular e prime will be not, we will not be sending it as is, it will be converted into an URL encoding. So this complete text will be converted into a URL encode, and you can see here this is the equivalent. Artist is equal to, you can see Pablo plus and JOS. Okay, and after that this particular symbol is replaced with %e9, that is the equivalent encode. Then plus is for the space, then these are regular text. Okay, so form element, two essential features of any form, namely the action and the method attributes. So for the form you saw the two attributes, right, in the source code. Okay, in the source code for the form element there are two important attributes. One is the method and another one is the action. Those are the two important attributes. The action attribute specifies the URL of the server side resource that will process the form data. So whatever in front of the action, you have action is equal to, inside two double quotes you have action.php, right? Sorry, process.php. So this is the one which will be processing the data. Okay, so it will just specify which URL, which uniform resource locator on the web server will receive and process this particular data. And the method attributes specify how the query string data will be transmitted from the browser to the server. So method will specify how the query string, you already know the query string, it starts with a question mark and a set of name value pairs separated by ampersand. How this particular information is sent to the server, it depends on whether it is a get method or the post method. And what you saw was the get method. So you can see here in the form you are specify it as a get whatever you saw the query string the way it is sent, it is because of the get method. So we will see those what would be the difference here. Already we saw the get. Okay, so if this particular form you have made it as a the method as get, so you can see form the method is get, then this is the query string you can see here. So you have process from the URL, you saw that this is the URL we had. So you can see from this part what is shown is in this part. So process.php then question mark. So process.php then question mark, title is equal to central plus park, and where is equal to United States, and rest of the things are there, and this is the query string. Let us say this if it is a get method, it will be part of your URL. So when you submit, the query string will be part of the URL, so that you can see what parameters you are passing. If you use the post method, okay, in the post method you will not see those values on the URL. It will be part of the HTTP header. Okay, so whatever the request you are sending, the HTTP header will incorporate the query string. So you can see the query string here. This is the HTTP header. These are the other information that header will include. Along with that, it will have the query string. You can see title is equal to central plus park, and where is equal to United plus states. If you make the method as a post, you will not be able to see what values you are sending. Visually it will not be there because it is part of the HTTP header request. And if you make it as that is the reason you will not be able to see it. In case of a get, you will be able to see it as a part of the URL. So there are certain advantages and disadvantages with both the methods. Just what we will do is we'll change our code. Instead of get, I will make it as a post, and we'll see what is the difference we get. So I have made it as post and I saved it. Just I will say okay. So actually it reloads. I am reloading the, now it is a post method. Then I will say something new text. Okay, and I will say some country, and I will say submit. Now, now you can see it is the same error that you are getting, but you will not be seeing any kind of a parameters in the URL. Okay, what you see is a process.php, that is where it has routed. You will not see the parameters because it is part of the HTTP header request. Okay, so this is the some comparison between the get versus post. Uh, get data can be clearly seen in the address bar. So we already saw that whatever the data you are sending to the web server, that can be clearly seen in the address bar. Data remains in the browser history and cache. So you saw um, uh, I will give some okay, I will go back, I will make certain changes. Okay, I will make it as get. When you have the method as get, whatever the data you enter, it will get cached. So I will refresh. Okay, now it is. Now you can see whatever I have typed so far, it is cached. Okay, so you will see the new text, everything is cached, and here you cannot have any other entry other than this, so you will not see. But here, since it's a free text, whatever you have entered, everything will show up because of the get method. Data remains in browser history and cache. Data can be bookmarked. You can bookmark data as well. So you will when you bookmark, all that data will be available for the resubmission. Limit on number of characters in the form data returned. So there is a limit on number of characters in case of a form data that is returned. But in case of a post, data can contain binary data, data is hidden from the user, user will not be able to see. We saw that example because it goes as part of the HTTP header. Submitted data is not stored in the cache, history, or bookmarks. And whatever the data you are submitting, it will not be stored in any kind of a cache, any kind of a history, or any kind of a bookmarks. That is the advantage. So if you see from the it depends on what kind of applications you are building, and whether you want to show it to the user or whether you don't want to show the data to the user, whether you want to cache that data or not. Based on that, you will be selecting whether your application should use the get or whether you should use the post. If it is you are more concerned about the data security and things like that, you should be definitely be going with the a post. Forms control elements. Okay. So form related HTML elements. So there are many form related elements are there. So we are going to see uh, each of them. First one is a button, okay, inside the angle bracket. So what it does is it will defines a clickable button. Right now you saw for the input. If you say input, type is equal to inside the double quotes. If you say submit, automatically you will get the submit button. So you always need not want to have the submit button. You want to have some other kind of buttons, right? Approve, reject, things like that. Then you can use a this button attribute. And whenever you are using the button attribute, along with that, you will be have to use some kind of a scripting. Okay, what action you want to perform. In case of a submit, the action is very clear. It is clearly defined. Whenever you click on submit, that form data is submitted to the web server. That is the that submit button. If you want to have any kind of other button, you have to include the scripting as to what needs to be done. Then we have a data list. Okay, HTML5 element form defines a list to be used with other form elements. So this has to be used with the other form elements where you can have the list, data list. Then field set, you already looked into that in our first example. The field set, what it does, it groups related elements in a form together. If you have any related elements, it will group them as a one entity. Then form defines the form container. So whenever you initiate that form, it will define that as a container. And what that container will hold, that container will hold other HTML elements. And if you have any input entities, all those things will go inside that particular form. So basically it will form as a container. Then input defines input field. HTML5 defines over 20 different types of input. So in the example, we saw like three different types of inputs. One we saw was a text. Second one we saw was the drop down list. And the third one we saw was the submit. Type is equal to a submit. There are more than 20 different types of inputs we can have on our forms. Then label, it defines a label for a form input element. So if you are using any kind of a input element, for that you need to want to have a label. You can use the label tag. Then legend defines the label for a field set group. So whenever you are having a field set, you will use the legend, so that for that group it will give some kind of a information. Suppose you are having a student registration, and for personal information you can create one legend, and for academic information you can create one more legend, things like that. So what is the advantage of having that? Visually it gives a very clear picture what the first section you are looking for, what the second section. First section is like a personal information, and second set is the academic information. Legend option. So option we saw when we use that select element for creating the drop down list, when we are providing the different options, right? For the country we had Canada, United States, so on. those values we are given using the option. Defines option in a multi-item list. It can be anything multi-item list. Whenever there is a multi-item list, you can use, inside that you can use the option. And opt group or the option group defines a group of related options in a multi-item list. So we'll see this all, for all this we'll see the example. Opt group is like it is like for options itself you want to have a group. For examples, you are asking for country, excuse me, you are asking for the country, and you want to have a group of like continents, like let's say North America is the opt group, and whichever the countries that are inside the North America, you will list that. Again, next opt group is Asia, and inside that Asia you will give all the option of Asian countries, things like that. You can use the opt group. We will see the example, then it will be very very clear, okay, how opt group can be used. Then select, select already we saw, it is a multi-item list, defines a multi-item list. Text area, this particular first one is the input type is equal to text. It takes a single line input. So if you want to have multi-line text entry box, you will use text area. Okay, for this I have examples. We will see that examples. Okay, this is advanced select list, checkbox, radio button, select list, select list value. Okay, so that particular, we'll start there. Okay, we'll come across the example, so we'll just go through this part, and then we will see. So here I have text input controls. We'll go through all the examples, so it will go in a one orderly fashion. So first one is a different type is equal to text. This is the attribute. Name is equal to title, and forward slash and closing angle. Text area. So you won't see the input keyword here. We have a text area. So that is the keyword that is used, and you are specifying rows is equal to 3. So you want to have 3 rows of inputs. And next one is password. How to do that? You will set type is equal to password. It is very similar to this text. Only thing is it will not display the whatever the characters you are entering. So it will display as a dots or a asterisk, something like that. Then we have input type as search. Type is equal to search. Okay, this can be used for the suitable for searching string. Then we have email. Type is equal to email, creates a single line text entry box suitable for entering the email address. Okay, this is an HTML5 element. Okay, all these are some of these things are HTML5 elements. Then telephone, so box suitable for entering a telephone number. URL, this box is suitable for using the entering the URL. So you will say type is equal to URL. You know that the particular data entry they are making is email or the telephone or the URL. You can specify them as a email, telephone or URL, because by default it will provide some kind of a validations that we will see now. So just I will change this basic form. Okay, so here we can add one more, and I will say this as a password. or you can say enter password, whatever the label. You label doesn't have any impact on what data is received and how it is sent. It is just for the display purpose. Whatever the text you are giving here, it is just for the display purpose. Type, I would say here as password, and I want to give the a label or the name as, let's say, the name is pwd. That particular input is identified by the pwd. Then I saved it. Okay, I will reload. Okay, you can see now one more entry. This is the password. So whatever the name you want to give here, you can give. Okay, I will say Central Park. So here I am giving some password or some name I am giving here, which is not displayed. Okay, uh, you can choose or you can leave, and you can say submit. Now you can see, even though it is not processed, some password, okay, some name. So in this particular example, get is not a good idea, right? Because it is right away displaying the password here. That is how we can use the password. That is the first one. Suppose if you want to see the text area, we can include that text area. So how to do that is we have to use text area. That is the keyword. That is the tag we have to use. See text area, and there is a property rows. You can specify. Uh, you can say rows is equal to 3. Okay. Then okay, that much we want to have. We will refresh. Okay, it is showing that the p tag. Okay, so you can see the text area. So some of these things are specified in different way. That is the reason you will see. So when you are specifying a text area, it should have a closing tag also. So you can enter like whatever the lines you want to enter, you can enter here. This is how the text area looks like. Then next is, okay, if you want to have a search, okay, what I will do is I will just change one of the entries that I have, uh, or we can include a new one, search. I will add one more to the text area. I will add the search, SEAR, search, and type I will say search, SEARCH, and name, whatever the name you want to give, SRCH or whatever. I will refresh. So you can see the search here. So whatever you type, so you will see a cross mark. If you don't want to enter that, you can remove. Basically, this will help you. You use it for the search. Then email. If you add one more, I will add one more. Just I'm copying and pasting one particular block. What is that block? Inside a paragraph, I have one label and then input statement. And label I am changing. I will say this as email. email, and the this particular type is what? Email. Type is email. Then you can give any name. Okay, my email. Okay, that is the name. I will refresh. So here advantage here is like if let us say I am giving some value here, I try to submit. Okay, see, even though normally for client side also you can use the scripting, JavaScript or any other kind of a scripting for validation. Now, even though I do not have any kind of a code for the validation, by default it is providing me some kind of a validation. So it is saying please include. Okay, if you read that, okay, read that, please include a at the rate symbol in the email address. So that is by default it is giving that error. So similarly for the other two, right, whether you use a telephone or URL, some kind of a standard validation is already included. You need not code for that particular thing. Okay, so telephone and URL you can try, and the next of the things. Okay, so this is already we did. Okay, this is okay. First one is for the text. This is how it will look like, the text area. So you have see this particular text area is different from others. So all other starts as a input. Okay, they use this kind of a syntax. Text area it is different. You have a keyword, opening tag text area and closing tag text area, and in between if you include something, that will be automatically part of the your initial value. It can be shown like that. Either you can give like that to have a placeholder. So what it will say, enter some text. When the page is displayed, it will have a label, it will have the text area, and inside this text will be shown. The same thing can be done also like this. Opening text area, a property called as a placeholder. Placeholder is equal to, and inside the double quotes whatever you specify, that will be shown as the initial value. And password, this is the example we already saw. When we enter the password, it will be shown as the dots. And when we are using the search, okay, this will look like this. When we enter something, it will also give a sign if you want to remove. And this is for the email. Okay, these are on different two browsers, in Opera and in Chrome. So in Chrome it is say please enter an email address, because at the rate is not present. Okay, URL, please enter a URL. It will identify the what is the structure for the URL, and if it is not according to that, it will give a error. Even though we have not included any kind of a validation, it by default it will bring in the validation when you use respective type of input. And this is for the telephone. Okay, next one is the pattern attribute, where we can specify the pattern. We will see that in the next class.